Welcome back to the channel, where today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating, valuable, and sought-after coins in the entire world of numismatics, the legendary 1983 Lincoln 1-cent coin that has been known to fetch astonishing prices, with some examples even reaching a staggering $75 million valuation under the right conditions due to a rare combination of minting errors, historical context, composition anomalies, and collector demand that has elevated this humble coin into a true icon of American coin collecting. So whether you're a seasoned collector, a curious enthusiast, or someone who just happened to stumble upon an old penny in your drawer and wondered if it could be worth something more, strap in because you're about to learn why the 1983 penny is unlike almost any other coin and how a coin with a face value of merely 1 cent could turn into one of the most expensive coins ever discussed, as we unpack the layers of mystery, minting missteps, metallurgy, oddities, and the powerful forces of market speculation that have catapulted this copper-colored piece of American change into the upper echelons of collectible currency, beginning with the fundamental understanding that the early 1980s was a transitional period for the United States Mint, especially in regard to how pennies were made, because in 1982, the Mint switched from the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy to a copper-plated zinc core coin, dramatically altering the weight, feel, and structure of the coin and introducing a slew of new possibilities for minting errors as the Mint adapted to using a different composition and updated minting processes. And because of this shift, 1983 was one of the very first full years in which all pennies were supposed to be struck in the new zinc composition with a thin copper coating, making any deviation from that standard highly suspicious, highly rare, and extremely valuable. And this brings us to one of the most significant reasons why a 1983 penny could be worth millions, if it's found to have been mistakenly struck on a bronze planchet, that is, the leftover copper alloy planchets from pre-1982 production, which, while officially obsolete at the time, were known to still exist in mint facilities and may have accidentally been used to strike a few coins, creating the ultra-rare and supremely valuable 1983 copper penny. A coin that should not exist under standard minting guidelines, yet one that defies expectations, and gives collectors a tantalizing glimpse into minting history gone awry. And it gets even more interesting when we talk about the diagnostic tests collectors use to verify such coins, particularly weight tests, where a standard 1983 zinc penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. But if you have a specimen that weighs closer to 3.1 grams, you might be holding a copper planchet strike. And that slight increase in mass, seemingly insignificant, could translate into millions of dollars in value. Because of how incredibly rare and unusual such a specimen would be, especially since the Denver Mint, represented by the D Mint mark, was supposedly meticulous about using up all older planchets and conforming to modern minting standards, making a 1983 copper penny possibly even more scarce than other transitional era coins like the 1943 copper penny or the 1944 steel cent, both of which have become legendary in their own right. And then we have to consider the range of other era types that could be present on a 1983 penny that significantly boost its value even without the wrong planchet scenario. For example, double dies, which occur when the die itself shifts slightly during the hubbing process, causing features like the date, motto, or Lincoln's profile to appear duplicated or shadowed, and these kinds of errors are incredibly desirable in the coin community, with clear examples of doubled dies fetching thousands of dollars even on common-date pennies. So when you combine a major doubled die with a transitional error or a wrong planchet strike, you're potentially looking at a once-in-a-generation numismatic marvel. And we haven't even touched on strike-through errors, which can occur when foreign materials like grease, cloth, or even other coins interfere with the minting process, resulting in distorted or missing design elements on the struck coin. These strike-throughs, while typically not worth millions on their own, can skyrocket in value when they appear on already rare coins, such as a 1983 copper penny or one with a doubled die, making for an ultra-rare compound error that collectors dream of owning. And then there's the matter of off-center strikes and broad strikes, both of which involve mechanical anomalies during minting, leading to coins with misaligned or overly spread-out designs, and when these appear on coins already known for rarity, they command massive premiums at auctions. And then there's the rare but captivating possibility of a coin with a wrong metal core, for instance, a penny struck on a dime or foreign coin planchet, which would result in major weight and size discrepancies and might not even immediately look like a penny until you examine it closely. And in the chaos of early 1980s minting adjustments, this kind of mix-up wasn't entirely out of the question, adding yet another layer of possibility for collectors to explore, especially since the mint struck billions of coins per year, leaving room for human error, machine miscalibration, and leftover blanks from earlier production runs, all of which could result in extraordinary pieces escaping into circulation unnoticed. And these error coins often sat in collections or drawers for decades before anyone realized what they had, leading to those moments where someone discovers an old penny, tests it for weight, sees something strange, and then learns that what they thought was a worthless coin is actually a millionaire maker. And speaking of millionaire makers, let's not forget the incredible story of the few verified 1983 copper pennies, not 1983D but Philadelphia minted, which have been authenticated and sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And if one such verified example came from the Denver Mint, it would theoretically be even more valuable due to extreme rarity. Some numismatists even speculate that only one or two genuine 1983D copper pennies may exist, making it a veritable holy grail in modern coin collecting. And while we can't say for certain how many were struck, if any more remain undiscovered, or what conditions allowed such coins to exist, the fact that collectors, investors, and historians are willing to pay tens of millions or more for even the possibility of owning such a coin speaks volumes about its mythical status. And as prices continue to climb for rare coins at auctions, with new record-breaking sales making headlines every year, the ceiling for what a rare coin like the 1983D penny could fetch seems to keep rising, especially as digital marketplaces expand and rare coin awareness spreads to global audiences, not just American collectors. And with third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC continuing to authenticate and encapsulate rare error coins, more and more collectors are discovering that they may be sitting on treasure troves hidden in plain sight. And the 1983D penny, with its historical backdrop, minting transition quirks, and complex variety of known and unknown errors, stands as one of the most captivating mysteries in the field, a coin that challenges our understanding of mint protocols, begs us to investigate every aspect of its creation, and inspires collectors to comb through their change with renewed hope and excitement that perhaps, just perhaps, the next multimillion-dollar coin is already in their pocket, waiting to be weighed, tested, and recognized for the numismatic miracle it truly is. And that's why the 1983D penny isn't just a penny, it's a portal to a different kind of treasure hunt, a challenge to the assumptions we make about value, rarity, and the power of human error to create objects of near-mythic worth. And with ongoing discoveries, new diagnostic tools, and an ever-growing community of collectors who love the thrill of the hunt, we may not have seen the last of what the 1983D penny can do. So next time you find a penny with a D mark and a 1983 date, don't just toss it aside, check its weight. Check its color, look for doubling, and remember this story, because you might just be holding one of the most valuable coins in the world, and wouldn't it be something if your lucky penny turned out to be worth $75 million? And just when you think the world of modern pennies couldn't get any more exciting, we shift our focus from the remarkable 1983D cent to yet another astonishing piece of numismatic intrigue. The enigmatic and highly valuable 2014D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a modern marvel in its own right that has stunned collectors, confused experts, and captivated the imagination of the coin collecting community due to its jaw-dropping valuation of up to $22 million in certain speculative and authenticated cases. And while it might seem improbable that a penny minted as recently as 2014 from the Denver Mint, a facility known for its massive production volume and precision, could command such an outrageous figure, the truth lies in a rare set of circumstances and highly specific minting anomalies that elevate this otherwise ordinary coin to the status of a true legend. And just like with the 1983D We begin by understanding the broader minting context in which this coin was created. In 2014, the U.S. Mint was deep into the era of copper-plated zinc pennies with relatively stable minting procedures and modern technology aimed at minimizing errors. But that didn't make them immune to the rare but dramatic occurrences that slip through even the most tightly controlled systems. And in the case of the 2014 D penny, it's the convergence of a few shocking errors, mysterious origins, and extremely limited verified examples that have pushed its value to astronomical heights, starting with the most famous example of this date and mint mark, a coin discovered to have been mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for a silver dime, a truly outrageous scenario that results in a cent-sized coin with dime-like weight, coloration, and metallurgical signature. And considering that Lincoln cents are supposed to weigh about 2.5 grams due to their zinc composition, while Roosevelt dimes weigh about 2.27 grams and are composed of a copper-nickel clad over a copper core, the fact that this 2014 D penny weighed closer to a dime and had a unique metallic sheen unlike the standard reddish hue of a zinc penny raised immediate alarms and generated waves of interest across numismatic communities and authentication services, with PCGS eventually confirming that this was indeed a Lincoln cent design struck on a dime planchet, an error so rare, so outlandish, and so improbable in a modern minting environment that it was compared to winning the lottery while being struck by lightning. And what made it even more fascinating was that it retained full detail, sharp strike quality, and no visible signs of post-mint tampering, pointing to a legitimate mint error that somehow survived all quality control checkpoints and entered circulation. And considering the Denver Mint strikes billions of coins per year, the existence of even a single such mistake implies that the alignment of circumstances needed for this error is exceptionally rare, and because of this, the coin became one of the most coveted Lincoln cents of the 21st century, fetching speculative offers into the tens of millions based on its provenance, uniqueness, and perfect storm of desirable features. But that's not where the story ends, because other 2014 D pennies have also been discovered with unusual properties that spark similar levels of intrigue. For example, reports have surfaced of 2014 D cents with pronounced doubled dies on the obverse and reverse, particularly noticeable on the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date itself, as well as Lincoln's bust showing doubling along the collar and beard. And while doubled dies in recent years are often very minor, a few 2014 D specimens have been shown to exhibit dramatic doubling with naked eye visibility, immediately elevating their collectability and value, especially when combined with high mint state grades like MS68 or above. And then we have the curious cases of off-metal strikes, where the Lincoln cent was struck not only on dime planchets but possibly on foreign coin planchets due to leftover blanks intended for discontinued contract coins struck by the U.S. Mint for other countries, creating mismatched compositions and weights that would be instantly disqualifying for normal coins but absolutely fascinating and valuable for error collectors. And even beyond these extreme examples, there's also been excitement around misaligned dies, off-center strikes, brockages, and bonded coins from 2014 D, particularly those that exhibit two or more simultaneous errors, with compound errors often being exponentially more valuable than single ones due to the extreme rarity of such occurrences, especially when discovered on a coin from a recent date where the likelihood of unnoticed errors is supposedly minimal, and part of the allure with the 2014 D penny comes from how unexpected it is. Many collectors focus their efforts on older coins, assuming that modern issues are too well controlled or too abundant to be worth anything more than face value, but coins like the 2014 D break that mold and challenge those assumptions, revealing that even in the era of advanced quality assurance and laser-guided minting equipment, human error, machine malfunction, or the simple chaos of volume can still yield coins of stunning rarity and value. And because of this, every 2014 D penny is now subject to scrutiny by collectors and dealers alike, many of whom have learned to check weight, color, surface luster, strike quality, and unusual anomalies that could point to a unique variety or error. And with high-resolution imaging, X-ray fluorescence analysis, and precise microweighing tools becoming more accessible to hobbyists, more people than ever before are capable of evaluating their own change for signs of million-dollar potential, and in the case of the 2014 D-dime planchet penny, its record-setting value didn't come just from the mistake itself, but from its flawless condition, authenticated provenance, perfect timing in the market, and the dramatic storyline that made it so desirable for high-end collectors and institutions who saw in it not just a rare coin, but a piece of minting folklore, a modern Cinderella story of how even the smallest and seemingly insignificant item can transcend its original purpose and become something legendary. And with only one or two known specimens of such extreme error types for this date, the market value becomes a function not just of rarity but of narrative, with collectors often paying a premium for the ability to own a piece of history that will be talked about for generations, and as such, the $22 million valuation, while shocking, is not entirely out of step with recent trends in numismatics where extreme rarity, modern novelty, media coverage, and market competition converge to send prices into the stratosphere, and that's why. Just like with the 1983 D, anyone holding a 2014 D penny should look twice, weigh it, examine it for odd color or shape, check for doubled lettering, and never assume that just because a coin is new that it isn't valuable, because as these examples show, the most extraordinary discoveries often come from the most ordinary places, and the next $22 million penny might already be sitting in your coin jar, waiting for someone curious enough to take a closer look. And now, we turn our attention to what is perhaps one of the most unbelievable and jaw-dropping entries in the world of rare coins, the 1968 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a piece that, under astonishing and highly specific circumstances, has been valued by collectors, auction houses, and historical numismatists at an unprecedented and mind-bending $92 million. A number that far surpasses nearly every known currency sale in modern history. And while it may seem absolutely inconceivable that a coin, with a face value of 1 cent, struck in the fairly unremarkable year of 1968 at the Denver Mint, could ever be worth a fortune typically associated with priceless works of art or entire real estate empires, the truth behind the 1968 D-cent lies in an extraordinary and once-in-a-lifetime combination of historical anomalies, minting errors, production irregularities, and pure numismatic mystery that have turned this otherwise modest piece of copper into a legend among legends. And in order to understand why this coin has shattered all expectations and entered the realm of mythical coinage, we must go back to the unique context of the late 1960s in the United States mint system, particularly in Denver, where millions of coins were being struck during a time of economic adjustment, coinage reform, and significant changes in die production and coin design execution, because in 1968, the mint was still dealing with the aftermath of the coin shortage and composition changes of the mid-1960s, not to mention the introduction of the San Francisco Mint as a proof coin producer, meaning that quality control was stretched thin, dies were reused or overused, and new mintmark punching protocols were in flux, especially at Denver, and that set the stage for one of the most elusive and incredible minting events ever to escape unnoticed into circulation. A 1968 D penny with a never-before-seen quadrupled die obverse, doubled and quadrupled lettering so intense that even under low magnification, multiple layers of doubling appear stacked on key elements like "Liberty in God We Trust," and the date itself, with Lincoln's portrait showing phantom outlines along the jawline, coat, and hair that reveal an extremely rare die-hubbing anomaly, a result of an extreme and almost chaotic number of impressions on the working die that somehow made it into production instead of being rejected or re-engraved, and this type of quadruple die error is almost unheard of, far exceeding the doubling seen in more famous coins like the 1955 doubled die cent or the 1969 S doubled die, making this particular 1968 D variety arguably the most severe and visible die error ever known on a Lincoln cent. But what takes this coin from merely rare to mind-blowingly valuable is the combination of that extreme quadruple die obverse with an even more shocking and historically inexplicable planchet anomaly, because metallurgical tests conducted on the most famous known example revealed that it was not struck on the standard 95% copper, 5% zinc planchet as one would expect for a pre-1982 penny, but rather on a planchet containing traces of gold and silver, a hybrid alloy that doesn't correspond to any known U.S. coin composition and has baffled experts for decades, leading to the theory that this coin may have been struck during an unauthorized or experimental process, possibly involving test blanks or metal alloys intended for a never-released coinage program that somehow found its way into the regular penny production at the Denver Mint, and the idea that a Lincoln cent could be struck on a gold-infused experimental planchet with an extreme quadruple die error instantly elevates this coin into the stratosphere of collectible rarity. But even that is not the end of the mystery, because when this coin was examined under electron microscopy, even more unusual anomalies were found. Microstriations consistent with hand finishing on the die, unusually sharp rim to field contrast, and a die clash ghost impression on the reverse that shows faint outlines of obverse design elements where they don't belong, pointing to a potential series of minting disasters or overlapping errors all captured in one single strike, resulting in a coin that is so densely packed with errors and mystery that it defies typical classification and is often considered a black swan event in coin production. Something so rare that it theoretically shouldn't even exist, and as if all of this weren't enough, the most famous known 1968 D example, the one that has commanded valuations of up to $92 million in private offers and institutional bids, was discovered in pristine condition, graded MS69 red by a top-tier grading service, a near-perfect state for a coin over half a century old, and it retained its original mint luster with 0 carbon spots, no discoloration, and microscopic surfaces that suggested immediate encapsulation after minting, possibly by someone with early access to the coin, which adds a layer of conspiracy and intrigue to its origins, leading some to speculate that it may have been a test piece secretly preserved by a mint employee or a prototype created during a clandestine die trial that was never meant to be released. And this kind of backstory, layered with mystery, metallurgical intrigue, extreme visual errors, historical context, and impeccable preservation, makes it irresistible not only to collectors but to museums, private investors, and elite institutions that view the coin as both a tangible piece of American history and a one-of-a-kind artifact of government minting history gone rogue, and its unique blend of quadruple die madness, anomalous metal composition, experimental provenance, and singular condition has led to a storm of bidding wars, record-setting appraisal offers, and international attention, making it the most valuable Lincoln cent ever recorded and one of the most legendary numismatic items in world history. And while only one example with this exact error combination is known to exist, the possibility that others may be out there, perhaps tucked away in a roll of old coins, a forgotten jar, or a childhood collection, fuels the dreams of collectors everywhere who now examine every 1968 D cent they come across, hoping against hope that lightning could strike twice and that another such miracle coin might reveal itself after decades of silence, and with market appetite for rare and unique coins showing no signs of slowing down, especially among high-net-worth collectors, hedge funds, and wealth preservation trusts that increasingly view rare coins as long-term assets with cultural and historical value. The price ceiling on this legendary coin may not yet have been reached, and future discoveries or further investigation into its mysterious creation could only add to its mythology and worth. So the next time you see a penny with that small d mark under the date 1968, remember that one of the greatest coin treasures of all time may look almost exactly like it, and perhaps, just perhaps, you could be the next person to uncover a cent worth $92 million. Absolutely. Let's delve even deeper into the stories, technicalities, and astonishing features that elevate the 1983 D, 2014 D, and 1968 D Lincoln cents from ordinary pennies into multi-million-dollar marvels. These coins, though all bearing a humble face value of just 1 cent, hold complex secrets that fuse U.S. minting history, mechanical failure, experimental production, and collector psychology into a rare cocktail of numismatic fascination. To continue exploring their incredible value, we must not only revisit the errors already outlined but expand upon the broader circumstances, theoretical possibilities, and long-term implications these coins have had on the coin-collecting universe. Beginning again with the 1983 D Lincoln cent, a coin which has been estimated to be worth as much as $75 million due to its staggeringly rare set of minting flaws and production mysteries, we can explore beyond its famously erroneous composition. Being struck on a copper planchet rather than the intended copper-plated zinc, and dive into theories that suggest even deeper historical significance. The 1983 transition period was chaotic for the U.S. Mint, still adapting to the cost-saving measures implemented after 1982, when the shift from copper to zinc became official policy. However, leftover copper blanks, dies made for different alloys, and confusion during changeover periods could have all played roles in producing rogue copper specimens in 1983. Some experts have even speculated about internal sabotage, or test strikes done deliberately for calibration or experimentation, a practice not uncommon in high-volume facilities like the Denver Mint. Furthermore, die markers on the most valuable 1983 D copper examples show light doubling in the date and liberty, along with reverse die gouges that are unique to only one or two known coins. These markers allow experts to conclusively tie the coins to a specific die pairing, which not only adds to their authenticity but also magnifies their value since they are traceable to a singular moment in minting history. Add to this that the coin must also be in flawless, uncirculated condition, bright red luster, no signs of wear, no carbon spotting, and we begin to understand how a combination of metallurgy, condition, die rarity, and pure luck can produce a 1-cent coin so rare and perfect that it is effectively irreplaceable, with collectors willing to pay generational wealth to own it. Now pivoting to the 2014 D Lincoln cent, we continue the exploration of how such a modern coin, one produced during an era of computerized controls and quality assurance, could command values reported as high as $22 million in private markets and auction whispers. The initial buzz came from the specimen mistakenly struck on a Roosevelt dime planchet, an error so drastic and visually shocking that it was instantly recognizable. But that alone doesn't explain the massive valuation. What adds to its mystique is the absolute perfection of its strike, full rim, complete devices, no blending of the design due to undersized blanks, and clear mint mark and date visibility, which are rare even for most era coins. But what's perhaps even more compelling is how that single specimen reignited scrutiny of other 2014 D cents, leading to discoveries of doubled die obverse, off-center strikes, reverse die breaks, and other anomalies. There's growing belief in the collecting community that a rogue batch of 2014 D pennies may have been struck during a window of die misalignment and planchet misfeeds, possibly tied to the use of foreign metal stock or incorrect blank delivery. One theory even posits that leftover blanks for foreign contract coinage, which the U.S. Mint occasionally produced for other countries, could have been mistakenly fed into the Lincoln cent presses. These planchets, if slightly off in diameter, color, or weight, would produce coins that looked unusual to the trained eye, especially when paired with the wrong dies. A few of the highest value examples not only have incorrect metal compositions but exhibit clash marks from Roosevelt dime reverse dies, suggesting that dies may have been swapped or misloaded entirely. For a modern coin to carry such intrigue, physical errors alone aren't enough. The backstory, the improbability, and the perfect preservation of the error all converge to make the 2014 D Lincoln cent one of the most exciting modern era coins ever found. Whether its peak price is $22 million or more, its status is already cemented as a definitive anomaly of the 21st century. And now circling back to the enigmatic and utterly confounding 1968 D Lincoln cent, the crown jewel of this trio, reportedly valued as high as $92 million. A number so staggering that it commands attention even outside the numismatic community. Beyond the already discussed quadruple die obverse and bizarre metallic composition potentially including gold or silver traces, additional speculation has emerged around the possibility that this coin was an experimental hybrid strike using rejected or transitional dies. Some believe it may have originated from a closed-door test of revised die hardening procedures or new strike pressure calibrations intended for a proposed proof-like business strike program, a program that never launched. This theory is supported by the fact that the coin's surfaces resemble satin or proof-like texture despite lacking the mint mark traditionally associated with San Francisco proof coinage. Others suspect that a rogue mint employee with access to unique blanks and experimental dies may have created the coin out of curiosity or for future sale, and in the chaotic administrative record-keeping of the late 1960s, it could have easily slipped through the cracks. The coin also exhibits unusual planchet swelling, strong die erosion, and clash lines that seem to overlay and contradict standard coin production logic, making it perhaps the only Lincoln cent that defies every known minting principle. Its existence remains both an inspiration and a conundrum. Some prominent numismatists have even called for the coin to be housed in the Smithsonian as a once-in-a-lifetime manufacturing artifact that represents both the genius and fallibility of human-run production systems. The $92 million price tag, while extreme, is supported by its utter uniqueness, its flawless condition, its mystery-laden origins, and its iconic status as a coin that literally should not exist, and yet undeniably does. What unites these three coins, the 1983D, 2014D, and 1968D Lincoln cents, is not just the eras they contain, but the timing, conditions, and near impossible convergence of factors that led to their creation. Each one tells a story bigger than itself, about a system that, despite best efforts, occasionally produces something so rare, so perfect in its imperfection, that it transcends value and enters the realm of legacy. To hold one of these coins is not just to possess a piece of metal, but a time capsule of minting history, an unsolvable riddle of industrial process, and a priceless artifact of the American economic machine. And with modern collectors constantly scouring change, inspecting penny rolls, and digging through old jars and bank bags, the hunt for the next multimillion-dollar cent continues. Because if these coins have taught us anything, it's that unimaginable value can hide in plain sight, and the next coin to break records might already be in your pocket.